All right. It is Valentine's episode.
Yes, sir. Get put on your lovemaking pants.
Pop that bottle of champagne, throw some rose petals over your computer or car or whatever, wherever
Yeah.
you're listening to this.
On your keyboard.
Yeah, on your keyboard in front of you at the store, just throw them
Just start
everywhere.
throwing
Just throw rose petals.
or anything that looks like rose petals.
Yeah, and if anyone asks, just say, "Hey, right guy said I should." We'll take the blame. But yeah, we got a great episode. Really fun one. Our topic today is romance, and we get into different types of romantic storytelling, different phases of romance, and share some fun facts about romance novelists and stuff like that. Even going as far as the video games.
Yes, we do talk about video games. We talk about our own history, our own histories with enjoying different types of romance media.
Yes,
and
yes.
And we will also be going over the challenges from last time, which is a very exciting part of this episode because these were collaborative challenges from groups that we were sorting together on Discord from our Discord community. And they're really great, and we're super excited about all the stories that we have to share.
Yeah, it's a little shorter episode. We just wanted to knock this out and get it out for y'all around this upcoming little holiday. But yeah, without further ado, this is Right Guys, episode 7.
Yep. Let's get into it.
Here we are, episode 7.
Hey, welcome back to the Right Guys table.
Yes. Welcome to our bar, now in HD. If you are if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not, if you're listening to this, just know that things are really clearing up around here. Well, focused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks to again another stroke of genius from Ben's wife Julia. Thank you, Julia.
Yeah, I did have this in the last episode because I did the background.
Ah, yes. So, anyway, moving on. Oh man, it's been a great week. And I got to say, we'll obviously get into this, but the Discord server has been so fun.
Mm-hmm. It's cool to jump in there, swim around a little bit. There's some content in there. We've got people contributing in the workshop.
Yes.
It's been really great. And I mean, it's only been around for, like you said, like a week and it's only been like a week or so since like last episode, which is crazy because we normally end up delaying our recording and it feels like very recent. And it's just it's sort of been a whirlwind since last episode. I'm like I'm kind of racking my brain, but I'm curious what's been on your mind.
Oh man. Okay, so what's been on my mind has been we got paired up in the Discord. We got paired up with random writing partners, and so I got paired up with a guy named Josiah, and Josiah is awesome. We clicked immediately on so much stuff. He's a nerd like me. We're both into fantasy. We're around the same age, and he's like getting back into skateboarding. And it inspired me to get back into skateboarding. So I actually went and had my first skate sesh in about 10, 15 years.
Wow.
Yesterday.
Did you wipe out?
I wiped out like a couple times, but honestly, like I just had a good time cruising around and I got a good sweat on and it was just like it was awesome.
Yeah.
But we also created this really fun story that I can't wait to share. And these characters that now like I think about and now I kind of want to write like a whole book about this character that I invented, and he wants to do the same about his.
Yeah.
But it was just awesome. It was awesome being able to dip into the community that Right Guys has grown, and then have like an immediately have such a rewarding experience
Yeah.
and cross inspirational. So it was cool. Like we talked pretty much every day throughout the day, and just got real jazzed on our story, and that like writing inspires writing, inspires writing, inspires writing, and that got me thinking about my other projects, and I actually have some very exciting news. Last night, after yesterday I was like it was like chair time day, and finished my story, and then had a break, kind of did some stuff throughout the day, and then I sat down and started working on a new sleeper song,
Mm-hmm.
and one that we already have all the music to, that I've just kind of been a bottleneck on for like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been about 3 years, that maybe 2 years, that Shane's had that song fleshed out musically.
Yeah.
And I sat down and I wrote the entire song. There is officially
Dude,
a new O Sleeper song. The first new O Sleeper song in 5 years
that's awesome.
was completed last night.
Dude.
And I'm so pumped on it. And it's exactly the I can't remember which episode it was, but we were talking about how I was in this writer's block and how I was just trying to write what I thought would be cool, and I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
writing myself.
Yeah.
And the character that I came up with, and just kind of this like vague picture of like, ooh, I can relate to that. That feels like me. That feels true.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it last time. It's so good.
Dude,
It's
that is the song, like that, like the whole song lives in that.
yes.
And it is like, when I read it, I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly how I'm feeling. Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is exactly what is going on.
And isn't it the best? Like now you're going to actually put out a song and people are going to hear it and they're going to just know you
Yes.
from the, like, they'll just know what you've been going through.
Yes.
And they'll like be able to feel it and like sympathize with it. It's so
Yes.
crazy.
Especially like I'm a very social person, and I really thrive off of connection, and I hate social media. Like
Yeah.
in that I think it's by and large very fake and filtered and all this stuff like that. And I'm a very raw, and I want to be genuine and all this. And so I if you follow me on any of my social stuff, like I post like once a year sometimes, like, and it's just like a very polished post about the band. So I'm not really getting, like, whenever we started the band and like writing like When I Am God and Sun in the Morning and all that. Well, whenever I was kind of in the writing bubble, I'd release something and then be like, oh my God, like I'm putting myself out there. Like now there's opportunity to connect again. And writing this and then reading through it felt like that again. And I was like, and like I'm already thinking like, okay, I'm gonna start doing some vocal rehearsals. I'm gonna start, getting my voice to where I want it to be for this. And then I can't wait to like track a demo and send it to the guys. And it's just kind of like getting
Yeah, dude.
this momentum. And I was walking around yesterday. Just I finished at like 12:30. I finished the song, and I just I was like shocked.
Wait, 12:30 p.m. in the
a.m.
afternoon. Okay, so it was midnight. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just like got up and I was like walking around my house and I was like, I did it. I was like talking to my dogs. I was like, I just finished those sleeper song, like first one of 5 years. You know, our band's been around for 15 years. That means like a third of the history of the band has been a writer's block that just got broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I texted Shane. And I was like, I just finished the lyrics, like full lyrics for Drop G song, you know. And he was like, dude, I can't wait to see it, you know. And I told my wife, and I was just like, I'm just like, oh my god, okay, it has begun.
I mean, it's beautiful to see, and I can relate like so much. Like it's like so many of your words are like almost the exact. It's like if Shane was the part of me that wrote the guitar part 2 years ago, and has been waiting for the Ben who's a lyricist, and like in the past month, have had that experience. And I text guitarist Ben.
Yeah.
And like, we fucking did it. It's crazy. Like,
dude, I can't. You're gonna love this.
Yeah,
it
like,
fits perfectly.
I think like mine was probably like 4 a.m. or something. But like, yeah, like same. Just like getting up, walking around the house, like my heart like beating out of my chest, like. Just like talking to my dog and like waking up Julia at some point.
Yeah. Like I felt like I was like standing on the front of the Titanic, just like, and so I told you I went to bed at 4:30. I was just jazzed. I was amped.
Yeah.
I finished the challenge story and I love that character, and then just sat down and I was like, I'm gonna try to finish a verse. And then I finished a verse, and then I went back and did the intro. Then I fleshed out the breakdown, and then I finished the chorus. Then I was like, man, I'm making insane progress. I should probably put it up and do something else. And I was like, wait, why am I thinking that? And I was like, no, I want to keep this going. There's nothing more important that I could be doing right now than working on this song.
Liquid fire in my hands.
Yeah, and I was like, better put it down. No.
Yeah.
So I just held on to it, and I mean the whole writing session was probably like 4 hours, on just working on that song, and then I went through and matched up, like I went through and trimmed it and matched it syllabolically to the rhythms that I wanted and everything like that, and went back and listened to voice memos I had of vocal rhythms I thought would be cool over it that were just like ba 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 ba, and I was like, okay, so how am I going to rewrite that to fit that? And then I just got it looking there, and I was like, oh my god! And I just kept going, wouldn't put it down, and then it was done.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. I can't wait to show you.
I'm excited to hear it.
And I certainly think that anyone listening to Right Guys who's been listening to us from the beginning and heard all of our talks and kind of the full dynamic of our individual writer's blocks and kind of our journeys to the states we're in right now, will hear this song, and like when you're like reading these lyrics will be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This totally tracks. So
yeah, and I mean, like, it's not, I don't want to sound pretentious. I mean, I can't take credit for what Right Guys is anyway, and it's as much you doing it to yourself, or way more so, but like, it's the Right Guys curriculum in a sense, right?
Yes,
that we're
it
talking
absolutely
about.
is.
It's like this is a real thing that we've now accessed, that anyone can access if you like. Join us for some challenges.
Yeah, we're not doing, anyone who's doing these challenges is like Right Guys pretty much happens within, these episodes are put together within like a 20-minute Zoom call right before we hit record and start recording this, you know. So
that's a misrepresentation. That's how much Micah prepares.
and so but like what I'm saying is you know, the chair time of sitting down and working on the challenges and then coming up with segments and stuff like that, but still just like sitting down and doing it and just being like, no, I'm gonna do this challenge. I'm gonna do this. And like having to come up with new stories every time and having to bend and blow the walls off and find new routes and everything like that. It's just kind of cleared the clutter in this creative pathway in my mind. And now like things are flowing like way more efficiently. And that's open to everybody. Anybody listening, anybody who wants to hop in and join this. Like,
and I know you've thought about doing a challenge before, and you've opened up your laptop, and then you've been like, well, this is actually a lot and there's a word count, and then I have work, and it's gonna be due, and that's
what if it's not good?
You definitely set your boundaries for your life and don't do anything for this podcast that you don't want to do. But what we are offering you is the opportunity to, if you're interested in this kind of creative, breaking your blockages, if that's something that you're interested in, we're offering that, and it's not an empty promise. We are going to guarantee it. If you submit 5 challenges in a row, if you can do a challenge streak and you complete the challenges and it follows the guidelines for 5 challenges in a row, we are going to have you on as a guest in an episode. You will be interviewed in the Right Guys bar on that TV.
Boom.
And we're going to talk to you about the Right Guys curriculum and your 5 stories that you wrote and what it has done for your creative process.
Yep. So freaking pumped about that. And and honestly the Discord, hopping in and just getting to see our community talk to each other and being able to hop in and like and chime in as well, and just like it feels so good, and I can't wait to feature more of the people who are more of the people in the bar with us.
Yes.
This bar is actually pretty packed, and everybody in here is working towards the same goals. And what we can, and yeah, just I love this idea, and I think it's going to be awesome. So yeah, you guys write and get on this TV so we can hang out and introduce you to the world. So what has been on your mind, Ben?
Yeah, so I guess I also wanted to talk a bit about my experience with my sort of challenge this week with the group and everything. Like we covered last time, you are more naturally inclined towards certain collaborative aspects of the... Anyway.
Does not play with others.
I had a great time with my... So maybe first thing we have to cover. So what ended up happening with my group, so like we were pairing off in the Discord, and we had an even number, and then an odd number, then an even number, then an odd number, then an even number, and we were like, all right, let's make the teams with these numbers. So we made 3. There were 6 people at that point who wanted to get grouped up, so we made 3 teams of 2. And then one of the people from the team that did not have Micah or I dropped out. And so there was one extra person, which was my brother.
Oh.
And so I texted him, and I was like, hey, if you're interested in doing this, then like I'll group you up with someone. But like if you're like busy, and then no worries, like, but your partner dropped out. So, and then he was like, I had an idea, and I was like, how would you feel about joining my group as a third perspective?
Nice.
In the same story? And he was into it, and the other partner was into it, Nathan. And so we had a group of 3.
Very cool.
And so that was like, that's another sort of logistical hurdle to get over, is like planning with another extra person. And at the same time, like, so I would say it's rare that I like take a real back seat in like a group thing. When I am like sort of creatively involved with the work, usually I get really involved, but it's rare that I sort of run point on like coordination or like production. It's because I'm not as organized. And I realized, luckily, like the day of, like, I mean, before assigning teams, like that no one else was going to do it. I was like, oh, I just have to, like, I'm like the camp counselor.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
I like oh, like, so, right, guys, feels like a summer camp. And I go and I'm like a kid at the camp, and then I remember that I'm the camp counselor.
Yeah. We announced the challenge, and then I was like, man, this is going to be sick. Totally just went about my day. I was like, didn't think about it. And then finally you're like, okay, so hey, here's your partner. Here's who's going to be here. I looked in, I was like, oh, yes,
I
Ben's doing it.
I can really relate. We have a super similar kind of psychological, like we just assume things in the universe are going to happen automatically and naturally, which I think is a healthy outlook to have in a lot of areas of life. But then I think we come to these moments where we're like in charge of something, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's gonna be cool. Like we're getting paired up into Discord and everything. And it's like, oh, someone has to. Then it's like, oh yeah, I have to write down names on pieces of paper and put them in a hat.
You're thinking like, well, Micah doesn't know what a Discord is. He doesn't even know how to log in right now. So it looks like this is me. Yeah, that's so true though. That's like if we have a good idea, it's like, that has to happen. Cool, it'll happen. So that's happening now.
Shane's
anyway, on to the next one.
Right? People who actually get things done.
Yeah.
Shane, Julia.
I surround myself with very responsible people. And I think that's a survival mechanism.
So this was amplified, or not necessarily amplified, but just repeated then for the scenario of being in my group, not just for organizing the logistics of getting people into groups, but then it's like realizing that, oh, once I'm in a group, I'm the right guy host. Yeah. I'm the one who should be the responsible one, telling people like, all right, like I have some ideas, like what are your ideas? Like here's some. And so like I'm like, I normally would feel like very comfortable sort of just like finding whatever ideas are coming and then like trying to work into them. And like, it just felt like there was a realization that I had to like be somewhat responsible and like timely with it, and like be like, oh, the one who's like getting things in first, which didn't happen at all. And it ends up being like my two partners both wrote their things before me.
Mine did too. Josiah did his first. He was like, he almost had his done the day we decided what we were writing about. And I was like, whoa. And anyways, but yeah, I had the same experience.
It's like, yeah, you, so I was working with them. We sort of built the outline, and like we built out what we were going to write about, and then it was just like the last 2 days, and we sort of wrote them one at a time after that point, and just were like making sure that we kind of fit things into the world that the other person has established. But what I sort of was excited about one of the things that we did collaboratively was like working hypothetically together in real time. So I put us on the same Google Doc. And so my idea was that if we were ever writing at the same time, then we could be like seeing what the other person is writing in real time and adjusting what's happening in our story. And so like since it was on the same document, that did make it easy for everyone to go in and tweak things like sporadically or like right before the deadline or whatever. And so being able to see it and just tweak based on that. Obviously it's the same thing if you just are sending each other updated versions, but Google Docs is sort of a API that does that for you. Mm-hmm. Other than that, so other things that have been on my mind, there's this board game that I'm going to be playing, which I wanted to ask you about, that Ravenloft board game you played with Josh.
Yes.
but there's this game I've been playing called Kingdom Death, and it is a board game. It was a massive Kickstarter board game. A group of my friends paid a lot of money for this game, and now it's like got these crazy miniatures. There's like insane, like you have to like build, and like they're like this big, and they like go on like
sick.
the game board, and it's just like super intense. And what's really interesting about the game as sort of a writing idea is like they have outsourced, or they've programmed role playing. Like they've not really role playing, they've programmed what you get from role playing into like readable content. Like they bridge the gap between, like they bridge the gap of immersion with like production value. It's like it doesn't require you to ever role play. In fact, the game works a lot better if you don't, because like it's sort of baking those more like personality driven things into the storyline already. So like you can just be reading it and like let the things happen and
just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. And it feels still like an interactive kind of like choose your own adventure, just like story where you're trying to survive and trying to win and trying to like beat the next hunt and beat the next boss, like beat the next monster, get your population up. But like there's a game book, and like each like rules page is also like has like a narrative to it. Like there's like all the like and then the enemies are, this is what's really interesting. Like so the enemy fights, there's multiple decks. There's a deck for like the part of the enemy that you hit, and then there's like decks, a deck for the different attacks that it can do. And like you build the enemy's AI by like building different decks for the enemies. And so like every time you fight a monster, it has a slightly different artificial intelligence, because its list of moves, which the moves include its movements and everything that it's doing in that turn, kind of.
Wow, that is really interesting.
And so you pick it up and you read through like a colorful description of something dynamic happening that hasn't really happened before this session. And so it's just like a new, interesting, and the battle's unfolding in a dynamic way, because then you're reacting how you want, but ultimately you're drawing one of its hit locations. And then it's like, oh, like I'm like cutting at like the Achilles tendon. And then there's like a description for what happens. You get a crit, and then there's like an additional description for getting a critical hit on that area. And now the monster is specifically wounded, and it has every move card has like, if it's wounded in this way, then it can't do like any move card that has a specific area of the body that it needs to use can then be damaged.
So it feels very interactive.
It's incredibly very like
immersive.
Yeah, even more so than like a video game. It's like it's like touching on the things about reality that we love in games and want to get closer to. Like when a DM is really great in Dungeons and Dragons and can work in those more dynamic like encounter elements and not just make it attack to enemy turn, player turn, enemy turn, player turn.
Right.
Like so yeah, it's like you're going through the motions that are sort of regular in a game of like attack, defend, block, dodge, attack. But it's like every time you do it, you don't have, like in D&D, you have to think of a way to make it fun. Like you have to come up with, in this game, you don't have to come up with anything.
Right.
It just hands it to you.
Dude, sounds very similar. It's like there's another thing that was on my mind. There's two games that are on my mind right now. And Castle Ravenloft, which is a Dungeons and Dragons board game,
which is based on the one D&D adventure that I ran, a year-long campaign that I ran.
Oh, nice.
Called Curse of Strahd.
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons light. The thing that really sold me on it was, or that piqued my interest, was you can play it one player, because the game engine is built into the to the decks and the descriptions and like it forms as you go. So every time it's going to be different. Like, but you like, just like you were talking about, like you have specific characters you can choose. Like it basically it cuts out, it cuts out some of the mental prep that you got to do going into a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which is awesome, which I love doing that. But sometimes you don't have time to do that, or you just want to hop in, or you just want to play with somebody, and you want to get that D&D experience.
Yeah.
So it's that they're very similar in that. Yours seems a lot more immersive though, and like a lot more moving parts, and that really excites me, because after experiencing Castle Ravenloft, immediately I was like, okay, I want to do this again. I like, how can I strategically get my wife to play this with me?
Yeah, dude, there's some really great like board games like with really immersive like Mansions of Madness is an eldritch horror board game that is like 6 to 8 hours with like, but it has great like little like plot elements, descriptions and things. It's just like, and then the minis are like epic, like insane, like detailed monsters like that fit in your hand. And the one that we did was a solid, it was 2 hours, and it was 2 hours, like, and we were learning it still, and we did the easiest, like, if it's your first time and you're playing with somebody else, do this campaign. But the game comes with 13 different campaigns. Ooh. And you can play up to you can play any character in any of the Dungeons and Dragons world, because you basically get a character deck for that person, and then they can exist in any of these things, which is also really cool. So you could collect these board games and have exponentially more possibilities. Wow. Wait, so did you sorry, did you say it comes with a set of characters, or did you create your own character? Okay.
Yeah, it comes with a set of characters.
And how many are there?
There's 5. I think it comes with a Dragonborn fighter, comes with a wizard, a cleric, rogue, and ranger. And nice. So you pick one of those. But then every Dungeons and Dragons board game that they're doing in this type of format, which they have, there's a bunch of them out there. Each one has 5 different characters, so none of the characters repeat any of the other ones.
Right? Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah, and you level too, which is cool. It's meant to be bite size, so it's meant to be able to like start and finish in one session. But it's cool. Like, it gives you basically one experience leveling thing, so you can go from level 1 to level 2, and gotcha. And it's exciting to do that. Like, I think I leveled my character an hour and a half in, and Josh didn't get to level his, because you basically can spend experience that you get from killing monsters on escaping certain encounters. You can escape an encounter, but that spends like a certain amount of experience, or you can save that experience, and when you roll, if you roll a natural 20 and have enough experience, if you roll a natural 20, then you get to the opportunity to spend your experience on leveling your character. So it feels exciting. You don't know if it's going to happen. Like, it kind of creates those moments in D&D that you end up loving and that end up being the most memorable, where you're like, I want this so bad, but I may not get it. And like the pressure's on the line, yeah. It's so it was really cool. I want to check out this Kingdom Death.
Yeah.
That sounds sick. That'd be cool. That'd be fun to do like a Right Guys, like virtual, like play it in the bar.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be dope.
And so I guess that's what's been on my mind. Was there something I was watching too? There's always something I'm watching.
Oh, I watched House.
Oh yeah,
I did, and I know what you're talking about.
Just like,
Oh, that was so creepy. They did
Such a
such a
bad
good
feeling you
job.
get in your in your
Yeah.
whole body, honestly.
Oh yeah, and it just plays off of anxiety. It was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I thought it was wonderfully done. I thought it was
Yeah.
so cool and creative.
I'm glad you liked it. Did Jenna watch it by any chance?
No, I wouldn't recommend it. The last thing I want to say is I started a new game. We got snowed in for like 3 days, and my wife works at a hotel, and they got snowed in too. So she was staying at this hotel at work for like 3 days, and I had Josh over, and so Josh and I got snowed in for 3 days, and we just played video games, and he's also my writing partner, as we know. So we did like writing sessions, and then played board games. But we stumbled across, after playing like, I don't know, maybe our like 10th, 15th hour of Call of Duty. It was like, okay, we gotta change this up. Like I'm getting numb. And so we got on, and I just did some quick research on cool RPGs for PlayStation, and Divinity 2. You heard anything about this?
Sin.
Original Sin, yes. I remember seeing a trailer for it like back in 2019. And I never really I was like, oh, that looks sick, I want to look into it. And then it just passed me by. Looked into it, grabbed it, and it is awesome. Got into that, been playing it, and it feels the most like playing D&D that a video game has ever felt to me.
Yeah.
And the narrator is awesome, and like when you do things, it's like as you walk in, you notice a familiar face of blah 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 blah. You know, he gives you a sneer, and then you have to interact with with people. You have to, like, what you say matters. You get up to like 3 different companions, so there's 4 of you, and each one interacts differently. So you're constantly like, just lore is thickening and thickening and thickening, and you really feel like whenever you take over one of those characters, you're like, oh, I know what he would say, and, and like you're reading all the dialogue options, and you're like, oh, screw this guy. But then you may be another character, and you're like, no, I'm gonna try helping everyone. Like it's been super fun. The graphics are great. I'm just now scratching the surface of it, but I've been really enjoying it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've heard great things about it. I've never played it. I don't think it's my type of game. I'm under the impression that I would have a really difficult time getting through all the text and everything, because I'm kind of a bad reader. But yeah.
It's slow, but fun.
Yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, I've heard great things. I've heard it's like D&D, and that I know you can like program your own campaigns, right? Like people make homebrew content, I think.
Oh, wow.
Maybe they're mods. I guess it's probably a PC game, so I guess probably mods.
Typically, when I dive into something, I try not to do, after I've done enough research to be like, okay, this looks sick, I'm curious. Then I just stop looking, and I just dive in and just try to go, until I beat it. And then I got to beat it once, or at least get to end game. And then I start looking into shit like that. So yeah, that'll be cool if there is.
So I guess maybe we should get into our topic.
Yes, let's do it.
It's kind of a specially themed episode, isn't it?
It is, because love is in the air.
Mm-hmm.
This is coming out. Is this coming out not on Valentine's Day, but this will be.
I mean, like, I could try to have it edited by then.
No. A couple days after, right?
If we release on Wednesday, it'll be 2 days after.
Okay, so we just had Valentine's Day. In the spirit of Valentine's Day, we our topic today is romance, and the many different forms that can take, and the importance of it in story, so that's exciting.
Yeah. I could start off with an anecdote about that.
Let's go.
I just have like Um, I guess as a kid, uh, I from a very young age was very interested in like romance plots. I think I identified that that was like one of my favorite things in any given movie. Like was like why am I thinking about the when the character is going to go back to the love interest rather than the fight scene? But
Right.
just how it happens sometimes, you know. And so I uh I guess I've been sort of a hopeless romantic throughout my life. I think that those words have applied, and I've been uh, interested in many. I haven't like read or watched too much. I guess like I've watched romantic comedies, but I used to be into more serious. Like I used to read a lot of like the like John Green, The Fault in Our Stars, Looking for
Mm.
Alaska, and then just I don't know, like other stories that I was interested in. It would often become sort of a main aspect of what I was looking for. And so when I went into this college class, like my first year, and the professor was like, we were just, it was a class like vaguely about literature. It wasn't literature, but it that was very involved in the topic, and they they uh they brought up romance as a genre, and they were
Mm.
wanting to validate it, and they were asking anyone if anyone in the room is a reader and not to be shy. And I was like, yeah, I'm not shy about this. Like I think that this is a cool part of like a, you know who I am. So I raised
Hmm.
my hand loud and proud, only one in the room. um and like they were like, oh cool, yeah, this young man. And so we can we continue like through like for a little while in the class, um and I guess it becomes clear that she was talking about porn at some point. Like that's what she meant by romance novels. And I don't know, like I I think I raised my hand and I made a distinction at some point, but just because I actually wanted to make I would love to think that I wasn't just defending myself. And I really think that I had this to say, and it's what I want to say right now, that I think that romance does mean more than porn.
Yes, it
And like
absolutely does.
and I I really value its place in storytelling,
Hmm.
um on many levels. um and I guess that's it. I that's my
That's so
attitude.
funny. He's just in front of your entire college class. Yeah, I'm super into porn. I'm a fan.
Like text based porn too. Like I feel like if she had just asked the room who was into porn, there would have been more hands than there were.
Oh man, that's so funny. But it's very true. I've actually got a fun little tidbit. Um, Romance book sales exceed $1 billion every year, selling more than many other genres combined. Annually, 1/3 of all mass market fiction books sold are romance novels. So this is a massive desire to like to read written romance. Um, and I feel like when we were talking about this topic, it really blows me away that uh, that it's such a massive industry that so many people want to be involved in. So many people want to read. So many people want to get swept up in these, but also it's like culturally shunned in a way where all the writers go by pen names because nobody wants anyone to know that they write romance, even though it is definitely a skill. Like to you talk about writing like a great fight scene. There are writers who exceed at that, and whenever you do, like the pacing feels right, and you like gets you there, puts you in the moment. Well, there's people out there skilled at romance, at love scenes, as well as making you care. Like what strums the heartstrings? A powerful love scene um, could be totally weighed on what it means that they're hooking up, that they're having their first kiss, that they're seeing each other in person for the first time, that they touched hands for the first time. And it can be one of the most memorable moments in a story by knowing how to describe what these people mean to each other and what this action means. It can also be as surface as strangers meeting and hooking up, but the love scene is so like raw and in your face that you're just like, holy shit. That it's vivid in your mind, either way takes great skill. And it's something that I would love to one day have a romance novelist on here somehow, anybody who was willing to show their identity, but and just talk about that. It's honestly something that I've thought about multiple times, like trying my hand at. Like I just want to like see if I could write a little romance novella and put it out there under a pen name and just like see what happens. But I think it'd be fun. And something deep connection everybody wants.
Have you written romance, like short stories? Like any?
I've written. So I like in the novel that I'm writing, that I'm working on, that Josh and I were talking about for Titan EP. Basically writing that 5-song EP as a full novel. And in that there's dating and there's two characters that have this great relationship, and I've written a number of dates with them that still like even whenever I'm reading the draft, like I can't wait to get to the date because I love how they play off each other. I love like it just makes like I want them to succeed. And it really like spawned on, I knew I was going to kill one, but I was like, okay. And I had that an idea. I was like, okay, but it's gotta really mean something. Like this death is going to change this character forever. So I need to show why. Like I want that to be gut wrenching. And so how did I like the approach that I took was like, okay, I need to get them on dates. People need a view into this relationship, how special it is. Like this is a slice of the good life. They both need each other. They both like how am I going to describe that? Like best way to do it, like over them joking with each other about their coffee order, and like flirting and stuff like that. And then like the first time they like are sitting in the back seat of one of their parents' cars, they're picked up from school and they're going, and like they touch hands for the first time in the back seat, and like hearts racing, and subject changes really quick, and like, okay, here we are. Okay, I gotta go. Just like, oh my God. But that's romance. And it sets up your events, like your tragedies, your victories, to mean so much more when there's love involved.
It's funny, like, and the other way around. Like your tragedies, your love means more when there's like tragedies around. It's like it contextualizes what else the heroes go through, right? So like if he's trying to complete some quest and he's doing it for her, like that is the motivation also working in the opposite way,
Yep.
Rather than if she dies, that adding gravity to that scenario and the plot. It's like it works both ways. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like dynamics, like we've talked about in the past, like having multiple elements, like having comedy next to horror amplifies both. Having romance in a story. This is why it's the most common B story, I think. It adds.
What do you mean?
So like in film, at least, like there's part of the common like beat by beat like plot kind of cheat sheet that is happening in a lot of Hollywood films. The B story. It's a big part of like how the character learns the theme that they, so like at the beginning there's like a problem, there's a conflict, and then the conflict can't be solved because the hero doesn't understand the theme of the story yet. And then the resolution, or the climax, is the hero synthesizing the theme as a solution for the problem and applying it and solving the problem. And a lot of the times they learn that theme from the B story. And the B story is most commonly, I think, I mean, I'm just talking out of my ass. I mean, I don't really have any idea. But I think that one of the most common B stories is romance, and it makes sense as to why. There's a lot of stakes that you can create, and usually it's tonally different, and it creates that contrast from the main plot. But it's like it's from action or something. It's almost like the opposite thing you can imagine, like total tenderness, vulnerability, kindness.
I could see it definitely as a low fruit, of like, okay, but why is the knight battling the dragon? Oh, because there's a maiden in the tower, and he's got to save her, and he loves her. Oh, okay, done. All right, I don't need to know anything else. Okay, cool, I'm rooting for him. But it's one of those low fruits that can be everything. You know, like if you don't take the low fruit route on it, and you actually dive into it, you make it a focus rather than or give it the time it needs to really mean something. You know, like it can really add a ton of gravity. That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's interesting with dynamics. I think it can amplify anything. And I I have one story that I wrote that was like romance and not other things. Which was I wrote it as a prank. Not as a prank. I wrote it as a cover up. And what had happened was, like, my friend was out with a lady that he liked, and I was texting him about like that.
Okay, you were trolling him?
I was like trying to encourage him.
Oh, okay.
And like she was also in my phone because I knew her. And like, I guess when you're writing someone's name, like in their names in your head, like, and you're going searching through your contacts for who to send the message to, like sometimes that's just the name in your head.
What did you do?
And so I sent a message to her directly that was supposed to go to him. Just about the scenario that they're in. And like, it was back
what
in
a guy.
It was back in like the SMS texting era. And so like I had been like fiddling with the character count because I didn't want to send two messages, like, and have like a widow word hanging off in a separate text.
Yeah.
And so it sends, and like I go into a panic, and I start like freaking out, and the gears just start turning of like, how am I going to get out of this? Because like this is pretty bad. And I start getting texts from my friend, and he's like, "What the fuck did you do? What is going on right now? Like,
what is going on right now? Everything just changed."
Yeah. And I was just like, "Just don't say anything. Don't do anything. I'm gonna fix this."
You became such a huge part of their date. You're all of a sudden on the date with them.
It wasn't even a date. They were hanging
out.
out.
Oh God.
Like there were other people there too. And what I figure out is essentially I hadn't used his name, and I hadn't, like, it was vague in certain ways, and because of the word count I hadn't used punctuation, or because of the character count I hadn't used punctuation in a few key areas. And I realized a way it could be worded that the text would continue afterwards into a second message and then be about something else. And so I send her this second message that's like supposed to be like a widowed one from on the end, but it's like, it's after she's texted me back at this point. So like obviously they didn't come through together. And so like I sort of had to explain, like, cause she's like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you sending me this? Who are you talking about? Like, what's going, and so I was just like, sent the second message. And then I was like, oh, like, this is like a story I was writing.
A romance story.
I don't know. Maybe I was like, maybe you only saw maybe only the first message went through the first time here. Like, no, like this is what I'm up to. And like,
just thought I'd share something I'm working on.
Yeah. Well, since it had been kind of about her, right? Like she's kind of coming up in the message. So I kind of worded it to be like, you gave me this idea for this story.
Okay.
Like you, and so like the story I was writing was a lot like what they were going through at that moment. Like, so I start writing this romance story, right? Because I'm like, I need to deliver something. Like, all of a sudden, I just have like it was my first real deadline, and so
oh yeah, it is.
And so he's like, my friend texts me. He's like, oh, like everything's cool. Like, I don't know what you did, but it seems like everything's fine. I'm like, all right.
Oh my God, that's
so
amazing.
I write it up. It was like 3 or 4 pages. I brought it in like a week later at school, and I gave it to her. She was none the wiser. She's, as far as I know,
you fleshed out a full 3-4 page romance story to cover up what
it
this.
was honestly good as fuck too. It was pretty good.
I would love to hear that.
No, it was probably not very good. It was probably pretty bad. And what I was gonna say about it was that years later, I went back for a class, and it was just for a final thing, and I don't think there was a prompt on it. It was just our writing project for a creative writing class, and I cleaned it up and I added elements to it, and I made it about a bigger thing, and that was like just the first like half of it. And so I have experience now, kind of interestingly, writing
that
something
is a great story.
Writing something that is romance, that is specifically romance for the sake of romance, but then also reworking that into a story and making it part of a bigger story that is like contextualizing the story.
Nice.
And so it was, yeah, just synthesizing those kind of.
Man, something that surprises me, and I haven't read. I mean, I've read a good amount of fantasy, but especially in high fantasy, like I don't see much romance. Like I see. I mean, there is some sprinkled through, but I don't see a lot of focus on it, and I feel like that's. I don't know. I'm sure it's out there. I would love some suggestions.
So you see it done like it to varying degrees. You've read Name of the Wind.
Yeah.
So like Quoth and Denna to me has real hooks. Like that one has like there's meat in that. There's something.
That's a good. Yeah, that's true.
There's something to those interactions, but what I would say actually is a more direct way of how I think about romance being good or bad in these, and this will be spoilers for up to book 2 of Stormlight, but I never was a huge fan of like Shallan and Adolin's relationship. It seems like a very standard, just like fantasy boyfriend and girlfriend nobles, and then she ends up trapped in the chasms with Kaladin.
Yes.
And so it's like she's in a relationship that is very like non-exciting,
Right.
that you're kind of like over. You like the characters enough, but like you're like, why are they? I don't know. Like
Right.
their relationship kind of always annoyed me.
From the
And
moment she
then
took his boots, I was like, "Come on,
yeah,
they gotta hook up. Like they gotta do this."
with you mean her and Kaladin?
Yes.
Right. And she ends up with the chasms with him, and it's so much less of like a contrived, like they're not just nobles. It's like they found themselves in this situation. Like it's so organic
Yes.
and
I
real,
love
and
that.
they just end up like just spending the whole night just like talking and like or
Wrapped in
whatever.
each other's
Yeah,
arms for
yeah,
warmth.
yeah, whatever it is. It's like it's
Yeah.
just very like it's like this nugget, and so it's really rare, and like that is something that will amplify it because like it's like super distilled and concentrated in that moment in that story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that is an example of how fantasy can do romance well.
Yes, absolutely. And I wonder if that was Sanderson, if he just kind of like rolled into that, or if he always planned on them having that moment.
Yeah, dude, it's
Because
so hard
it
to
did
say.
happen so organically.
Yeah,
It didn't seem planned
knowing
out.
Sanderson, I feel like he's not a super intuitive writer.
That's true.
I feel like
Hearing him do like
he outlines a lot, but I don't know.
he outlined for like 10 years before starting.
Yeah,
an outline.
Stormlights
Damn.
was like his main project that he's been, he was practicing for with
Mhm.
everything else for so long. So it's like
Sidebar:
who
we should blip on a spoiler alert, if just for people who haven't read.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, nice.
I at the beginning, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's. I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see more organic moments like that with characters. There's a really funny one. There's some hilarious romance scenes in the first Law trilogy from Joe Abercrombie, and he takes like sex scenes and there's sex scenes through the entire thing, but they're funny, it's funny because these characters are so human and awkward in a lot of times, and like or like, I mean, they just like smell really bad, because they haven't had a shower and and whatever, like
Sure.
yeah, and like it just seems like very very raw and real, like of like like also the like different characters being like roles being switched very easily, like it's not very tropey. You'll have I don't want to get too far into it, but either way, like I've seen it done that way, which I thought was cool. Like it's a graphic sex scene, but at the same time, it's not perverted in any sense, and it really makes sense with this character. And afterwards, these characters better because of it.
Would you say that's the main like role that they function in, is like character development, or is
I
there
think
normally
so.
some other aspect of plot that's also moved forward?
Yes, no, I think character development, but also like some of these events will like, it's the reason why they missed the watch, like and missed missed giving some cue or something like that, or they knocked over something that burned down the house or something like that, and it starts this whole event and everything. So they make sense. And I think that he does a really cool approach with that, a really fresh take on it. Another thing that's interesting, that it doesn't show up in video games that much, but anytime it has, it's been a huge success. Like I remember like when Sims came out, and like I remember me and my friends all talking about like, yeah, you can date in it. Like you can like and so I would be on Sims like trying to like save up money to buy virtual flowers and or play guitar enough in front of this sim character to make them like me.
Real.
And like whenever the little heart bar would like go to the next level, I was like, oh shit, she's into it. And then I think about like when Fabled came out, that was another thing that everyone talked about. I was like, yeah, you can get married. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
You can get married? Like to who? It's like any woman in the game, any man. You can get married to a man. You can be gay. And it's like, what? You can then you can do anything. Like this is amazing. I gotta play this, you know. And so of course I had a character who got married to a woman. I had a character who I just wanted to see how many different people I could marry, and then that caused all this conflict and everything. I had a character who was gay. Like it was so fun. And then I think like more on the adult side, Witcher, which the Witcher game, it wasn't like the combat and everything got stale for me. I think the graphics are amazing, the worlds are amazing, the lore is really really cool. But that was one of the later games that I've played that actually had a strong romance side to it, where he has relationships, but you can also go and sleep with a prostitute. Like you can like.
I'm curious with The Witcher. Not that this would like this isn't a value judgment, but like do you have agency, or are they like kind of scripted like relationships that you kind of watch the cutscenes that are going to happen?
You can dive into them, and diving into certain relationships will reward you certain things, or it carves your path. Okay. And so it does. They're kind of side questy. I think I'm trying to remember back. I was playing a lot of Bloodborne at the time, and sometimes I just check in and play a little Witcher, and I just wanted to progress, so I skipped through a bunch of stuff. But they would lead you down certain paths, and you could screw up the relationships. And that was like, I remember I would skip a lot of dialogue, like, oh, this dwarf at this inn who runs this inn, who's like pissed off at me, like I need to fix our relationship so I can progress this storyline, progress this quest line, and get this armor. And I would just skip through all the dialogue stuff. But I noticed that anytime I was talking to any of the women I was involved in a relationship or something like that, I would read everything. And I wanted to make sure I had the right responses. Like, how do I feel about this person? Where do I want our relationship to go? Like, it's very engaging. And I think it's another, and I've heard the same thing from anyone who's played any of these games. Like, everyone talks about that. It's a highlight. And then like reading about the romance novel sales, $1 billion a year, over $1 billion a year, a third of mass market books are romance novels that are sold every year, and people are gobbling this up. Like these are new numbers. So the demand is there. Everybody wants that romance connection. It's getting into video games, and when it does, like it shines. So just as writers, I take from this, from learning about all this, I'm gonna specifically put romance in my mind when I'm writing characters, because everybody's got love and loss, you know, and that is a great way to pump up your characters and make them more believable, make them more meaningful, make what's happening more meaningful. Another way to see a new side of them.
I have a few games I've played that have incorporated it, and they do it pretty differently than the ones you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Have you ever played Harvest Moon? Harvest Moon is like a sort of like a farming simulator. It was like an old like Nintendo game, but it's like
it's like a Stardew Valley type thing.
Sort of, yeah, but like 3D, and you are this character in this world, and there's like three, I guess, like love interests that like throughout the game you can just like you can court to varying degrees and then like end up marrying one of them. And like the marriage system is like you have to like find the gnomes in the woods to give you like the ring, and like you have to go through their like ceremony.
That's awesome.
But like I don't know that I got that far in it, but what the experiences that I had, there was one that was really impactful and sort of changed like the way I think about some things in life. And like it was like I at one point like the girl character that I was trying to end up with, I had this moment where like I was about to go to her house, but like as I was opening the door, this cutscene started, and like she walked out, and there was just this whole scene of like our characters going down to like the river and like just talking, and like it was just like this like really like magical moment that I wasn't expecting to happen. But I like screwed something up. Like there was some like moment in it that I like clicked through like the dialogue too fast.
You
and I
set
hit,
your
like,
controller down and it swipes her with a sword.
I like
oh
hit,
no!
I think I hit no on some dialogue option that I wanted to say yes to, and so I turned off my game and I turned it
Just
back
immediately.
on. And I turned it back on and I went up to her house and opened the door and there was no cutscene.
Oh.
And I restarted the game. And I went up again, and there was no cutscene. And so, like, I looked it up, and people were just like, "It's just random. Like, you can't control this happening. It's just like if it happens to you, it's lucky."
It's an Easter egg.
It's like, I mean, it was part of the game. Like, it's not really an Easter egg. Like, it just happens to you. You don't have to find it, but it's just like I lost it because I wanted to perfect it.
Yeah.
And it's like you only get to have experiences once. And it's just crazy. Like if I had kept that file, like I would have been closer to the character. Like saying the dialogue option wasn't like I screwed up everything. It was just like I wasn't as whatever insert emotion here as I wanted to be. But like the moment happened. And it could have stayed, but I just couldn't. Couldn't leave it lying.
Those consequences.
Yeah, dude. So man, I don't know. Like I think
she asked you if you'll always be true, and you're like, no. She just leaves. You're like, oh shit.
I just think about that with experiences now because I do have a tendency to like, oh yeah, I can't hang out or do this thing. Like it'll be there tomorrow. Like it'll be there. Then like time is really precious, and it's like the chances that you have to connect with loved ones and like to be like out in the real world doing things like that is every moment once it's written is written.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely
one of those grounding sort of memories that I go back to concepts and like, yeah, you should just enjoy the moments. Like don't question them. Just like be ready. For a moment to come and just gracefully accept it
and be present for it.
Yeah,
don't rush moments.
Yeah, that you'll end up clicking through the dialogue options too fast. And then another one that I played.
Sometimes I see life like that. Someone's talking, and then it's like in my head, I just see my dialogue options. I'm like, persuasion. I don't know.
You just click through all the parts of Right Guys where I'm talking.
You're talking and I'm like click 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 click. I'm just looking at my options of responses. I was like, I already know I'm gonna say this. No,
the other
I would never click through you. Just so you know,
you.
You're important to me.
Okay, I do click through you.
Damn it.
The other game is Persona.
Yes. Shane was telling me about that, and he said he loved it.
Yeah, me and Shane have connected over that. We've texted about Persona. Yeah, I mean, like, what a lot of people don't tell you about the game is that it's just like a dating simulator in disguise.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, it's like it gives you every conceit to care about those things in the context of like your strength score and leveling up, because increasing those relationships makes you stronger in the other parts of the game.
That's so cool.
And so like they incentivize it, but I think they don't have to. Like they know. I think they know that there are people like me, at least, who are doing the dungeon part to get back to the school part.
Yeah.
But it's like the game is every day is counted. Like you have like a year of like time or something. You might have more than that, but you have a certain number of days, and every day, everything you do takes up time. And you only have so many stats to increase by doing things, and like you have so many activities and so many like friends, and like you're only going to be able to reach a certain relationship point with so many people. And so you choose your time and your moments, and like you build relationships with people, and like a lot of them end up feeling really organic because like they're just involved in like your everyday interactions, and then those get filtered into like certain crux points of like just the school trip that you go on, where you have one person who you've been closest with, and then like there's like a bunch of scenes that happen with that person on the school trip. And so like
which also incentivize a next playthrough, because you're like, okay, now I want to see what this person's like,
right?
You know, that it makes me think, how can I make time and the consequences of time more present in all my writing? Because any story that you're writing, the presence and consequences of time passing will make it more real and immersive. And I think that's something I'm gonna keep on the kind of on the back of my mind while I'm approaching these our next writing challenges. Just like see what I can do if I could add a sprinkle of that.
Well, it's like time being limited is almost an illusion in itself. It's like what we want is tension. And it's like limiting time does that. It's one of the things that can do that. But like but tension is the goal. And so like there are times when it doesn't necessarily have to have a finite limit in mind or have a scope of like time is running out, as long as you have that tension hook in place and can create that. Yeah.
It'd be interesting if to make a game where there was a set amount of playtime allowed. Like an event was going to happen, and when you log in, the timer clicks. Like say you've got 30 hours.
Yeah. Would you count would you count the pause screen?
Maybe.
Because Majora's Mask pretty much does that, but minus the pause screen. And Outer Wilds does that minus the pause screen.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. It's happening. You know, the dating simulator thing is a huge thing too. You know, that's a massive market and demand out there. I mean, they're everywhere. And it's all just romance writing. It's all and like there's a ton of them that don't have anything to do with sex. Like it's really about simulating connection with somebody else, and it's all done through writing. And that's like it's fascinating, you know. I especially like such a sword and board guy like me, like I love high fantasy. I want to get to the action, I want to get to the magic, I want to get to the beasts, I want to get to, you know, the all this stuff, but God, like a relationship can feel like a boss fight sometimes. and like victories that you have in a relationship and connecting with somebody can be absolutely as meaningful, if not more meaningful, than an achievement.
Yeah. I think like if you as a writer can write on the page connection between two people, then you can hypothetically create connection with your audience member, I think, in a similar way. It's like if you understand how connection is made, then you can make those connections. And so it's like in a way a very fundamental thing to storytelling, being able to draw connection between two people, because it's what a storyteller does when they sit down with someone. So, yeah, pretty central idea to all of it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Romance. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah. Make some time for romance this week.
Yes.
Well, especially 2 days ago. Well, or today. If it,
or today.
It's coming out
whenever it
one
comes
of these
out.
days.
Just make time. Make time for romance.
Make time, idiot.
Make time in your story, you freaking guy. So yeah, this let's dive straight into the challenges. And what was the challenge?
So the challenge this week was a tale of two stories, and the challenge was to write the same story as someone else from a different perspective. So you were encouraged to partner up with somebody and to each write the same story, and then be submitting two stories that are from two character perspectives in that plot line.
Yes. And we also featured our, as we've talked about a couple times already, the Discord server. And we got on there, and actually got a lot of good interaction going on there, paired up into teams as we talked about. And now we're going to get to see a little bit of that fruit. All right. So who are we starting with?
Okay. So we have one from Anna and Tim, I believe.
Anna.
Yes.
Right Guy's legend.
Right Guy's veteran. Let me pull this up. Okay. Yes, that is Anna and Tim. Okay.
All right.
This first one is called Father, and this is by Tim. I awaken with lurching breath and the sound of death rattling up my throat. Trembling violently, I reach out into the bleary void, searching for something solid to anchor myself to. A warmth envelops my wrist, anchoring me. I feel something stroke up and down my inner forearm. It's a familiar, measured pace, tugging at the sands of dusty memory. Oh, the dream cadence, the banisher of nightmare. Relief washes over me. Febrile tears creep over the room about my eyes. Esperoth, my boy, my son. I try to mutter a word, but my breath is whisked away by zephyr winds in the desert of my throat. I want to read that line again. I try to mutter a word, but my breath is whisked away by zephyr winds in the desert of my throat. My tongue cleaves to the roof of my mouth like a newborn to its mother. A wheezing cough shudders through me. Breathing has become a full-body exercise. My lungs bellows to a wildfire. The world within me is burning. I am returning to ash. The boy holds my hand, rubs something cool and moist on my forehead. I hear semblances of sound, but the revolt inside me tears apart the tones and dulls the fricatives. I do not understand. I try to speak, but all is in rebellion. I gasp like a fish. Pitiful. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Not now. There was too much left unsaid, and now no way to say it. I strain my tongue, peel it back from my teeth, will the words through my throat, collapse into shiverous coughing. My head lolls. I am a stringless marionette. My lungs fill with fluid as I drown in words. Esperoth, I have failed you as a father. I have chided and commanded and given nothing but rebuke in return. You have made my heart well with pride, but its overflow never crested my tongue. I damned it, demanding more. Because you ever exceeded expectations. You surpassed me 12 times over. I feared a balmy word might put out the fires of your heart. What a foolish thought. I remember the night the dream cadence died. Night after night you had been chased by dragons and ambushed by Skrala. The great enemies of our people hounded you. I would wake each night to your screaming and calm you with the cadence. Then one night you shook me awake. Dad, Dad, I did it. What? I stopped running. I stood and faced them, Dad. Zwip, zip. An imaginary sword whirled through the air. I cut them all down. You need the dream cadence no more. Now you hunted nightmares. I didn't even say I was proud of you. I just told you to go back to bed and get some sleep. The abyss claws at me. My heart falters. I don't remember the last time I said I love you. I strain. I yearn, coaxing my dying declaration into the air. My mouth froths over with their excretion, burbles in blood-flecked phlegm. I perish, the words entombed in ruby red foam.
Wow.
All right. And then we have the sun,
the words
Esperoth.
entombed in ruby
yeah, should we,
red
all right,
foam.
should we talk about them individually, or should we read both and then discuss it?
I think we need to talk about them immediately.
Okay.
So like,
yeah,
I love this imagery.
It's so good, dude. Like I think that the one paragraph that they wrote is like the most like vivid description that I've heard of like the inside of a dying human body. It's like, I try to mutter a word, but my breath is whisked away by zephyr winds in the desert of my throat. My tongue cleaves to the roof of my mouth like a newborn to its mother. A wheezing cough shudders through me. Breathing has become a full body exercise. My lungs bellows to a wildfire. The world within me is burning. I am returning to ash.
Good God, that is
so good.
Rich.
I'm very honored.
That is like,
that you wrote this in your Right Guy submission, Tim.
Yes, Tim. Thank you. That is, oh man, that's beautiful. And yeah, it's haunting, and God, it puts you there. Like every little step of it is like it hurts.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've
man.
gotten a lot of really good submissions. This is like one of my favorite.
Yeah.
This one is really, really good.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So he is basically, there's this dream. What's it called?
The dream cadence.
The dream cadence. And it kind of sounds like Esperoth is his son.
Mm-hmm.
And he is teaching him basically how to fight nightmares.
Or he has in the past at some point.
Right.
He taught him to do this, but now he's well, I don't want to say too much about it because
I'm just
revealed from the other perspective.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, what do we know right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to separate it in my head, but I just
Dad
read
is
both of them recently.
So it sounds like to me this dream cadence is a thing. It's like a practice, maybe ancient tradition, or maybe these are maybe like a household boon or something like that, that they can do. He's taught his son, but now he's like on his deathbed and thinking of all the things he wished he had told his son, as his son takes care of him, and he just can't. But he's fighting his body to try to, and it's just okay.
All right.
Part 2.
Then we have the son's perspective, Esperoth. Father, father, I shout as my feet slam into the familiar mud of my home village. My heart pounds as though the news will burst out of it. I did it. I faced the dragons and Skrala. I slew them all. It was my father's own courage and resolution that gave me the strength to do it. Without his example, quietly defending me from the enemies of our people, comforting me with the dream cadence, I could never have found it in me to heft my great sword and fight. I owe it all to him. My skinny adolescent shoulders still ache from the effort, but it is the proud ache of accomplishment. I don't hear father's voice. I knew he was sick when I left on my quest, and since we lost mother to the dragon raid 3 summers ago, he has had none but me to take care of him. With me gone these 2 weeks, I fear things have taken a turn for the worse. A hacking cough emanating from father's room confirms my suspicion. I push the bedroom door wide open. Father lies buried under twisted, mounded covers. His skin is yellowed, his eyes reddened, and he wheezes. Pity seizes my heart. I approach him, grip his arm. I concentrate and summon the dream cadence, the bringer of comfort. The least I can do to repay all the nights when I was afraid and trembling from the frightful visages of Skrala when he summoned it to calm me into sleep, relief from terror. Dream cadence to restore my strength. Dad, I did it, I shout. I cut them all down. I pretend to swing a sword through the air, hoping this display of theatrics will make him laugh, something to make father forget his pain. He only stares at me, and his watery eyes grow wetter. Father wheezes again, coughing blood. I wipe his mouth with my sleeve. He looks up at me pleadingly, as if he wants to tell me something. What? That he is proud of me? This I already know, father. This, the fight, this was what you raised me for. You wanted more from me, and I have given you your demands. You only prepared for me for a dark and bitter world that requires as much bravery as I can muster, and then more. Or that you love me. What is the dream cadence but the essence of love unspoken? You didn't have to say it. As I grew to manhood, I learned to know what you meant all along. Father. Father's mouth foams, and my heart sinks. But now is not the time for tears, but action. Father, you taught me this. I close my eyes and summon the dream cadence once more. Now I understand what you mean. Pass in peace. I will fight on for you, Father, always.
Man, what a beautiful story.
Yeah, very cool. Perfect one to tie it all together and bring it home.
Yeah.
And it all, yeah.
Absolutely. Well done, Anna and Tim. Y'all really
cool.
created a vivid world and that I want to know more about. I want to know about this dream cadence. I want to know like what Scralla look like.
Yeah,
I want to know like
it's such an interesting little like story and world because there's this like scene of the kid running up and pretending to swing a sword through the air.
I love that.
In like the dad's memory, like this is happening like a long time ago, like when he's like a little boy and it's like he's putting him back to bed after like a nightmare. And then like he's doing it again as an adult, or it's like I don't know, it's like the dad's on his deathbed. I feel like his like memories are blurring with reality. Yeah. And it's like it's both. Like he's in a place between time.
Yeah.
Like seeing his son then and now, and maybe the dream cadence has something to do with that, like putting you in like visions of the past that are like comforting to you, like seeing your son do that.
Yeah, like it says like he whipped his sword around like he used to do as a kid to try to make him in hopes to bring a smile to his face or something. Mm-hmm. But when the dad sees it for the first time, it is as a boy is doing it. Like it's like I like those fever dreams of like near death. Yeah, just blending together. Yeah, and every wheeze, you know what the father's what the father's thinking, and what he's trying to do, but you know how much pain is going on, him trying to get these out, and the boy's like another wheeze. You know, are you trying to speak? And like the dad's eyes just water, and oh man, that is wonderful.
Yeah, it's a cool story to see. I mean, like. Initially, when I started thinking about the prompt of different character perspectives, you start thinking about scenarios that like that have interesting things that are hidden behind the perspectives, you know, that are like that make it more than just watching two characters in the same room, and having one of them not be able to talk because he can't summon up the words to speak on his deathbed. It's like it's all internal, and so you do have this like backdrop of information that isn't being shared between the perspectives that then makes it a really interesting kind of plot device.
Man, I really wish we could I wish we had them on right now and we could be like, okay, so tell us what ideas happened first, like when y'all were outlining this and you're like, okay, so who came up with dream cadence and what is that? I wonder if that's like an idea either one of them had from a past story or a story they're developing or one that they wanted to, or if this was just totally a product of spitballing. But either way, it's fascinating and done so well.
Yeah.
Way to go. Yeah. If Tim and Anna, I would love to see you guys on the Discord talk about this. That would be awesome.
Let's jump into the challenge. There's a whole channel dedicated to the challenges thread for just celebrating challenge entries and talking about our challenges. So yeah,
I'd love to meet you guys in there and talk about this and get a little interview. All right, so I will share mine next. I and Josiah wrote a story together, and I gotta say, this was such a wonderful experience, and we had a blast. We literally talked every day. Our DM thread is like super long. But what we came up with, we both were just like super jazzed about, and then like have talked multiple times about. It's like I gotta finish this story. Like I gotta know where my character goes next, and it's like yeah, and I gotta write a backstory to mine. Blah blah blah. But let me pull it up here, and it is right here. Oh nope, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. The Chief's Hunt, Part 1 by Josiah. Melek. Melek came to rest against a willow overlooking a stream. Unlike its surroundings, this tree had plum-pigmented leaves. He was eager to get this hunt along. Power was within his grasp, and soon he would wield it. Melek dove into a pocket. His hand brushed against strips of jerky. He noted little remained for the return journey. Withdrawing a single strip, he severed the sliver down the middle. He tossed half in his mouth. The other, as if rehearsed, leaf swooped down from the sky and relieved him of. Find the Asylum? What about the troll? By Leaf's silence, Melek assumed failure. I wonder where he is. Did he turn back? Surely rogues are cowardly, but I thought of Zuzu to be a greater standing compared to his peers. Melek felt a tickle. He looked down and found a vine crawling into his pocket, looking for jerky. Melek leapt away and gained a bit of distance. He turned back out of curiosity and noticed an odd placement of salmon pigmentation in the bark. The vine pursued him. Leaf! There! Melek pointed. He withdrew his dagger and sliced the vine that sought his throat. The severed vine fell to the earth. Within a blink, the segment dissolved into nothing. The xylem screeched and all color faded. When Melek's vision returned from monotone, he spotted Leaf, who had taken to the sky. The xylem pursued, now having taken the form of one of the ancient winged serpents of old. Good. Keep that thing distracted. Melek set a brass cage on the ground. The elders wanted this demon slain, but why slay such a potential asset? Melek whirled his bow around, assured his hold, and spoke an arrow into existence. The tip of the arrow swirled with matter that Melek knew not of its origin. Static tickled the arrow's tip, and Melek felt a numbness as a result. The irritation was manageable and not too distracting. He caught a glimpse of the odd coloration underneath the scale and drew back the bowstring. Melek need not worry about gravity. This type of arrow broke silly rules like those. Melek released his shot. Something stung his thigh. Melek brushed his hand against himself, and whatever it was fled. A tingle lingered as he watched the xylem collapse to the ground. The worst was over now. Now Melek had to decide what to tell the elders of Iksha. What proof could he provide that would abet his ruse? Melek could not bring himself to enact what the elders asked of him. True power lay within this creature, and who knew what greatness could be achieved if given the chance to study, perhaps even tame them. Melek shoved the paralyzed, unshapen blob into the cage. He called for Leaf, but all he admitted was were pathetic manipulations of breath. His vision pulsed, and Melek leaned forward, bracing himself on the cage. His brain became idle. He collapsed, witless and withered. Melek faded.
Very nice.
All right.
Yeah, it's really
That's
cool.
Part 1.
So you mentioned this being a project that you and specifically Josiah, I guess, really dove headfirst into, like up front, like just getting a ton of stuff out there, and you can tell like there's so much beneath the surface.
Oh
It's
yeah.
one of those.
So his initial draft, like we were talking about how like we hopped into these groups like fully expecting to be like the leader of it, and then like it just took off. Like, oh crap. He took it and started running with it. He had his first draft done. It was 2,000 words. after by the morning of the next day, after we decided exactly like what our story was going to be. And he was like, and so I woke up the next day. I was like, dude, I think I got my first draft. I think I got my story finished. And I was like, oh my God. And it was so rich. And I was like, oh man, we can work with this. And then I had to break the news to him that it had to be 500 words. And he was like, I have to trim 1,500 words. But he was a champ. He did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's great. It's one of those things in storytelling, like, it's nice to have things underneath the surface. It could definitely be like getting something from 2,000 words down to 500 words. That's just like, that's like you got it. You're just going to be making some cuts as to what the story is at that point.
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that you have this bed of context that isn't seen to the reader. Anything that's behind the curtain is like adds to the mystique.
Yes.
And like
it's
everything you have up your sleeve in your armory that you don't show, it's like the presence of those things are felt. The fact that you have things up your sleeve is felt. The difference is people don't know exactly what the answers are, but you can always tell when just other things are coming up. You know, other characters' names or like other like references to like locations or objects it's woven in just like throughout, like
yes.
And it's even like things we were talking about with the last story, like the dream cadence and like the xylem, like they're just being things in this world that are totally unique to the world.
Right. The like those building that depth of your story, and even if it's just for you, you will write and be inspired off of that, and those and hints and little breadcrumbs of that loaf of lore will sprinkle throughout your project and just bring new life and color. It like ultimately resulting in something more immersive and something that keeps you coming back and wanting to know more about this.
The speaking the arrow into existence was great.
Yes. That was really cool. He was like, we kind of decided, or well, I'll tell you in a sec. But
you want to do yours. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So part 2, this was mine. Part 2, Zuzu. Thunk. My, gotta hand it to them dwarves. They know their way around the blade, don't they, Flicker? Zuzu peered down, his needle-like dagger pinning some poor thing to a log. He appraised the cozy branch he lounged on and the 30-something feet down to his kill. He'd just gotten settled. The sun about to rise and a distant stream babbling him to peace. He could pass out right now. But he was hungry. Plus, his kill and blade contradicted his efforts of stealth, so he sighed. If only you could fetch like that greenskin's whelp, eh, Flicker? He rolled off the branch, lazily flipping in the air and landing crouched over his dinner. As he reached for his blade, he paused. Hey, wait a minute. A flash of brilliance hit. He surveyed his accoutrements and stopped on his rope bracers. A tusky grin broke his sneer. This could do. He unwrapped one, pilfered a string from the braid, and looped it through the eye of Flicker's hilt. After pacing back, he gave the string a tug. It launched at him with speed, and he caught it inches from his eye. Whoa there, Flicker! Zuzu laughed, dangling the dagger in front of him, admiring his genius. This right here, this why they chose you, Zuzu. Getting Flicker to return made possibilities whirl through his head. He tucked the stringed blade in his boot, snagged his kill, rewrapped his wrist, and returned to the treetops to eat and sleep. Tomorrow held the potential to bring much-needed change to the lives of he and his people. A screech jolted Zuzu awake. Tusk of Baji, what the? Zuzu peered through the canopy and couldn't believe his eyes. A wind serpent? He'd only heard stories of them. Ancient terrors. It was battling something. That pesky whelp! Decide him! He's on it! The troll leaped from his branch, swinging and flipping from tree to tree. He couldn't lose this challenge. His people had suffered green law long enough. He had to be chief. Zuzu came to perch on a willow near the fight. The orc already aiming his bow. Some sort of flashing arrow knocked. Zuzu grimaced. That hunter don't miss. He paused. Another flash of brilliance. Dark, dark brilliance. His hand slid to his boot and found the string. But neither do you, Flicka? His other hand fished a vial from his pouch. You gonna need help, though. He's a big boy. He dripped a tincture on the blade that smoked and hissed. With a whip of his wrist, Flicker took flight and bit the orc's thigh. With a tug of the string, Flicker returned. Ha! The hunter loosed. The serpent fell, bubbling into pinkish ooze. His rival caged his rightful trophy and staggered, then slumped over, confused and lifeless. Zuzu dropped from his branch and retrieved the trapped asylum. Sorry, Chief. We need this more than you. He started back to Iksha. Zuzu had a throne to claim.
That's awesome.
Zuzu, the troll rogue.
Yeah. So they know Zuzu. The first they know each other. Yeah.
So okay, yeah. So the this is
so
exactly
cool.
this
It's
is exactly
awesome.
so the overarching tale that we came up with, the story that we came up with that we wanted to tell was basically this city of trolls and orcs have come to live together.
Right.
And the way that their democracy works is
Yeah. Wait, I think I get it.
okay.
So the green law is like if the orcs are in charge, then they would call that green law. And they have like their society is run by they have this hunt called the Chief's Hunt where they send out their like best fighter, and whoever is able to successfully bring down the serpent becomes the chief. And so this troll has a chip on his shoulder because they've been under orc law for a long time. The orc wants to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
Dude, it's awesome.
That's exactly it. I'm so glad you got it. And it was fun too because we were like, okay, so what are we hunting? And he had just gotten done like in the same conversation. He had just gotten done playing Pokemon with his kids, and we talked about Pokemon for a little bit, and I was like, what if? Oh, okay. So we were tossing out ideas of things that we could be hunting, and I was like, and he was like, man, I'm kind of drawing a blank, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna rapid fire some stuff, and I was like, acid snake or giant acid snake, freaking shapeshifter, minotaur, freaking, like I just rattled off some things, and he was like, ooh, shapeshifter sounds cool. So does giant acid snake. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, hey, what if we fought a Ditto, but like we horror fantasy did a Pokemon. And so we looked up these pictures of like that people have done like realistic Pokemons, and the Ditto one is like disgusting.
Yeah.
And so
Sure.
that's what we used as like, and then he came up with the idea. He was like, hey, what if we called it like a Psylim? Like it's a psychic limbs, like it turns its. I was like, dude, I love it. That's it. And so as we were both thinking about it, we were in our minds, we were like, he's fighting a Ditto. And then it was like, okay, so what do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be a troll. And he was like, cool, I'm going to be an orc. He's actually writing a story about orcs right now. And he was like, dude, I'm totally in the orc mindset. I want to do this.
Or using an orc brain, like to write a human would just be difficult.
Yeah, he can't click out. And then I'm kind of, I guess I am a troll. But he, I actually, in Divinity, I'm running a rogue. And so I was like, oh, I want to be a rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all I need is my knife. And
don't you, Flicker?
Hey, neither do you Flicker?
Dude, it's really good. That his whole like voice and vibe is awesome.
Thanks. When I was researching some, I totally forgot that trolls typically have like this voodoo background. And I was like, oh man, so I the first thing I wrote on this was, gotta hand it to them dwarves, they know their way around the blade. And I was talking like him the whole time when I was writing it. But then we're like, okay, so what, like we were trying to decide our characters like what they would be, and I was like, well, let's just go off of like D&D roles. Like typical fantasy roles, like you got your rogue, wizard, mage, or rogue, mage, ranger, or hunter, fighter, whatever, cleric. And he was like, okay, he's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna be a hunter. And then he was like, ooh, wait, I want to be like a hunter mage. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I had no idea how that was gonna show up. He was like, yeah, I've got my mind's racing on that. And I was like, yeah, run with it. I'm gonna be straight troll rogue. And he was like, okay, so what's your weapon? And I was like, knife. And then I was like, ooh, but it's got a string on it, so I can like return it to my hand. And he was like, oh, that's cool. Okay. So whenever he sent me that, his original draft, when he's battling the Xylem, he keeps getting like bit by something, and he keeps like, it's like it hits his thigh, and he swats, and there's nothing there, and then he gets bit in the back, and he kind of like scratches, and there's nothing there. And I'm reading this and just imagining my character in the treetop, like ha, and then pulling it back and ha, and just attacking him with poison. So that was just really cool to see, it's cool. Like we came up with our separate characters, and then getting to watch the other person run with it, they kind of brought your own character to life. And so I don't know, it was just so fun. And honestly, a joy of an experience. Great job, Josiah. You're awesome, dude.
Yes, I had a great time with my group as well. They were all very cool people. Well, both very cool people.
Yes.
And
I'm excited to see how this like three part thing turned out.
Yes. So I have it up. It's just called Untitled Document. It's not the one that says Ben's group. They're out of order. I reordered them.
Okay.
But it's untitled.
Okay, starts with Rex.
Yes.
Okay.
This is mine. This first one. The king could always sense intruders well before they came. He'd lay his plans and pace his halls and sharpen every blade. He'd look out from the windows. He'd growl foul schemes and count up everything of value they might try to seize. His royal guard collect him as the raiders pound the gates and stow him to the dungeons where they promise he'll be safe and lock him in a cage. He prays he hasn't been betrayed. He prays they leave his home unscathed. Powerless, hours pass. The king grinds his ivory. Clink, stomp, crash, cackle. The jubilation of the intruders boils in maddening continuity. There had to be some way that he could get free. The king spits and screams, and suddenly he hears a creak. Through the dark some creature creeps. One of the invaders plumbs the deep. They'd found the king now. What would they do? Would this day mark the end of his rule? Would his execution be swift, or would it be cruel? The intruder sloshes water in a bowl and unlatches the gate. What game is he playing? He runs to the corner. He watches and waits. This must be a trap, and the bowl is the bait. He's hoping the king will be thirsty and drink. The king steps out and takes a sip, one eye cast back, vigilant. Sure enough, the cur draws near and grabs the king's ear, and that will be his last dishonor. The king spins, knocks the intruder on his back, and brandishes his knives. Only now does he realize, with the intruder prone and whimpering, just how young and weak he is. Pity it has to end like this. Crash, and in a flash, the king has someone on his back. Before he has a chance to see, the world is turned to black.
And a poem, no less.
Yeah. We could talk about that separately, or I could just run through and
whatever you think is best.
I would just keep going through.
Okay.
Because you've got that imagery fresh in your mind.
Okay.
All right. Interior, middle-class house day. We see a plastic fork picking at a half-eaten piece of vanilla birthday cake. Tilt up to reveal River, 7, with unkempt red hair wearing clothes that look like they came from the local Goodwill. River's eyes wander the room. River is surrounded by a table of other elementary kids laughing, climbing on each other, and playing with their food. Among them is Billy, 8 years old. Billy wears a gold crown, a baseball jersey that still has the tag on it, and some freshly inflated soccer boppers. Billy's mom, 30s, a classic soccer mom, enters through the back door. Billy's mom, speaking over the loud kids. Okay, the games are here. As soon as you finish your cake, come outside, and we're going to play some games. Billy howls and throws off his boppers. The kids immediately drop their cake and run out the back door. The remaining parents collect themselves. River trails the other kids to the back door before stopping. He turns to Billy's mom. River, politely. May I use the restroom? Billy's mom. Oh, sure. She points. Last door down the hallway. Hallway. River makes his way toward the bathroom. Parent 1. Whose kid is that? Parent 2. I don't know. Parent 3. I think he's new. River enters the bathroom door. Hallway, later. River exits the bathroom, wiping his hands on his shirt. He looks outside a nearby window. He sees the kids playing outside. A parent is standing on a chair trying to hang up the piñata. Billy takes some practice swings with his wooden stick. River leaves the window and moves down the hallway. He hears a whine echo through a door. Basement. River creaks down a set of wooden steps toward a flickering white light. The whine grows louder. River steps onto the basement floor. The basement is filled with neglected old tools. A rusty wood saw. A pile of pliers. The howling streams from an old crate sitting at the edge of the stairwell's shadow. River approaches to see Rex. Rex's jaw peeks out from the shadows. Drool seeps down his face as he cries out. River sees an empty water and food bowl. He grabs the water bowl, climbs up to a sink, fills it with water, sets it down. He unlatches Rex's crate and runs to the other side of the room. Rex's door slides open. A Paul steps out, then another as he makes his way across the bitter room. Rex goes in on the water bowl. River smiles. He moves in from the far side of the room toward Rex and his feast. River lifts his hand. Rex sloshes in the water. River's hand comes down to Rex's ear. Rex snaps at River with his bubbling white teeth. River's eyes widen as he falls backwards. Rex growls.
Oh, damn.
All right. So we get it cut off there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you don't mind me going through all of them in a row.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
To Crestley's perspective. So that was Nathan's there. And this this next one was Perry, my brother.
Okay.
He better not bark. Yeah, it's good. He better not bark, thought Cressley, bolting the crate. Good boy, Rex. Quiet. Tiptoeing away, Cressley maneuvered up his basement's switchback staircase. He instinctively avoided the creaky steps. Opening the basement door to the hallway, the sounds of the party washed over him. I'm sure Billy's having a great time already. Outside, the other adults were standing around chatting. One of the dads was on a chair hanging the piñata. Cressley noticed Billy coming up behind the man. Yellow paper crowned, stick in hand, eyeing the candy cocoon. He's going to have to tie that off, thought Cressley. Sure enough, Billy started wailing on the piñata. The man was caught off balance, his foot slipping to the edge of the chair. Cressley held his breath. The piñata rope. Just hold on to the rope. The man tottered on the chair, looking like a drunk. Like a drunk woman, shouting into her phone, pacing, too close to the edge of a metro platform. Cressley's thoughts were interrupted by a cry. Billy, what the hell? Stop that! It was his wife, Dottie. Billy turned, guffawing, and scampered off. Dottie walked over to Cressley. She crossed her arms. Kill you to step in once in a while? Cressley shrugged. Didn't seem like it was going bad. He offered. Fine, snapped Dottie. Well, go inside and clean up a bit. Just throw away any cake left out. Inside was a mess. Cressley meandered, picking up a few plates of cake, empty soda cans. He tossed them into a bag. His ears perked to a hushed conversation in the other room. Yeah, the kid's dad, just last year. Jesus. I heard about it on the news, but I thought I didn't hear that someone tried to save her. No, that's the thing. He just stood there. The conversation went on, but Cressley had noticed another sound, creaking from the basement steps. and Rex's low whine. Cressley went to the basement door. He opened it slowly and crept down the stairs, skipping the creaky ones. From the staircase, Cressley saw a red-haired boy lower a sloshing bowl of water from the sink to the floor by Rex's crate. Does he feel bad for Rex? The boy opened the latch, then sprinted to the back of the room. Just to give him some water? I wonder how we'll get Rex back in. As the dog drank, the boy inched forwards. The woman on the platform, moving closer, approaching the edge, and then, suddenly, the boy reached out and Rex lunged. The boy sprawled backward and Rex growled, advancing. The boy's mouth worked soundlessly. Rex howled, with a sound like an oncoming train. The boy looked around desperately, and his eyes locked onto Cressley's, just like the woman had right before. And Cressley was running. He was down the stairs and across the room before he could think, throwing the trash bag over the dog's head like a net. He grappled Rex back into the crate, slamming shut the bolt.
Dang. Heavy
perspectives.
Dang. That whole story changed 3 times.
Yeah.
Of all the same story. That is awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was cool how it kind of like ended up being able to order them in a way that like it reveals new things every time. And like, you're constantly kind of it feels like the perspective like widens.
Yes.
Right, because like you start with the dog,
it gets like, deeper and deeper.
Who has no ability to think through the actual scenarios that are going on, so it's just all metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't exactly know what's going on.
Oh man!
And then the kid's perspective like widens that out to like you just get to see this narrow like one experience of someone who doesn't understand this environment at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Cressley, you get obviously a whole adult perspective with a history and a context of its own. It's learned lessons.
Yeah.
And
dude, it's so cool. Like there's so much depth going on at this party. But I mean, that's exactly how life is, you know, like whenever you're in a room with other people, everybody has their own stories going on. And this y'all did such a good job of choosing completely different perspectives. And it really feels like 3 different worlds happening at once. And it's this kid's birthday party.
Yeah. I thought it was cool how like the perspectives kind of ended up matching like the forms, like the poem. It's all very like poems are obviously not very literal. And so like for a dog's perspective, be kind of muddled, like it's choppy things, like the logic's not complete.
Yeah, powerless. Hours pass.
The kid has like a totally visual, like sensory experience of the world, like a TV, like a movie. So it's written as a script.
Oh,
and like
nice.
the kid is like, you're not getting an internal, like with Cressley, you know, it's an adult with a whole internal world of like a history of things that have happened to him before. And so like, it's told in like a written like prose form.
Yes.
Where you then can hear his thoughts.
Yes.
You can like hear like you get like the context of the story. You get to like hear about other characters. Yeah. Whereas the kids is more like narrowed in and like focused.
How cool. Y'all went above and beyond with do not only writing from 3 different perspectives, but writing in 3 different styles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were
like inspired off of what the character is. That's really, really cool. This is
everyone
awesome.
in the group had great ideas, and everyone, like I said at the beginning, how it was a really easy group to work with. And this is contrasting, you know, my whole thing about really not enjoying collaboration all the time. And it's like, everyone was into everyone's ideas. Nobody was like, it was just like, we were just able to it was a very efficient process where we were just like sending out the thoughts that we had or putting them in the outline, and pretty much everyone was just running with whatever everyone else was coming up with.
So cool. Yeah. So tell me, like, give me like kind of a play-by-play of how the story took form.
Yeah.
Like what was the initial structure that y'all were like, okay, I'm gonna start running with this?
Yeah. I had the idea of like wanting to do an adult and a kid. or no, I had, yeah, I wanted to do an adult and a kid, um, witnessing a dog like attacking a kid, but like my idea was that it would be, um, like just to show how different the perspectives are. Like for the kid, this is like a horror scene, and for the adult, it's like a comedy scene or something,
Mm.
where it's like, it's just funny because like the dog's not actually dangerous. It's like a chihuahua or something. But
Yeah.
in the kids' world, it's like a hellscape. So like that was just me like spitballing, trying to come up with a general way that like we could be showing different perspectives. Just like something to think about. And then, like I said, everyone in the group just wanted to run with, and so I threw out that idea, and then it was just like, let's just just jazz that up and make that like an interesting story. And so everyone just had their own like input of and so it started with Nathan. He wrote his part first, and that really determined the shape of like the setting of like,
Yeah.
this is definitely going to be in the like mostly in the basement, and like, and so like,
He kind of determined the A to B.
right. And then Perry did the, like on top of that, he was working around like all the things that Nathan had mentioned at the party, like someone hanging the piñata. Perry knew he wanted to establish this character who had this history of not stepping in when he's witnessing something bad happening. So like setting up an example of the piñata, like him going out and seeing someone hanging the piñata, and he's like, he's gonna have to tie that off, and then the kid hits it and it falls, and he's like, yep, you should have tied that off. And
Yeah.
and so it's just so like then, yeah, so then you saw Perry working within those confines, and like making like the story like breathing life into it from a new angle.
Yeah.
And then
And he
what
did it
I wanted to
like
do,
a trauma. Like it's like a trauma inspired,
mm-hmm,
and
yeah,
hearing that, and then watching, yeah, after watching him like watch a couple things, and then watching him be like, that kid's gonna get bit. Oh, there he goes. Yep. Like,
and he
man, that
does help
is,
the kid.
yeah, and he does. He broke his
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah. And then after those two had been written, I knew that like I wanted to basically make it as different as possible, like try to shroud the perspective as much as possible so that it would be almost unrecognizable. And so I tried to like keep a consistent kind of metaphor and voice. That the dog's name I had decided was Rex before he had started, which means king.
Yep.
And so in his world, he's like the king. And as I was started writing it, I was like thinking about dog internal worlds, because I think dogs really don't think of themselves as kings. Dogs are like so subservient a lot of the time and so kind, but at the same time, when you do have a dog that's like sort of like gone bad with like getting a sense of alpha energy, I think that's exactly probably the kind of like internal monologue that you might be hearing. And
That
so
is
it's
so
like
cool.
as I was thinking about it, I was just like, yeah, let's really get into the mindset of a dog that thinks it's the king. And it's like, what does it think when it gets locked up in its basement? It's like, oh, it's like for my protection. Like,
And it hears all this stuff going on in its kingdom, and it's like, what's going on out there?
yeah, it's like, why aren't my guards doing anything?
Yes. Is that how you feel Reshi is thinking about the kingdom? His kingdom?
He never gets locked up anywhere. He is free reign.
A true king. Yes. He has no enemies.
Yeah,
No
I mean,
threatening his kingdom.
I hope he doesn't think of himself in the kingly way. I feel like that is a dangerous dog thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man, I think y'all ordered it perfectly as well. Allowing Rex to come in first. I was like, okay, we are in a castle. He is in the stronghold.
yeah. I wanted to ask, were you fooled? Yeah,
I absolutely was.
Yeah. So
And then whenever it went to when it went to the kid, I was like, and it talked about like the king wearing, or like one of the kids was wearing a crown.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so the king is one of is the birthday boy who thinks this is all about him. And I was like kind of thinking, I was like, I was like, what's up with this bull? What's up with, and when's he gonna get attacked? And then I was like, okay, so, and then whenever I saw Rex mentioned or it said something about the basement, and I was like, oh, he's the dog. And then Cressley's perspective added this whole layer of like heaviness, like it was like both those were like fun, like fantasy to fun to heavy, and then like, but they're all the same story.
Mm-hmm.
It was so cool. Well done, y'all. I gotta say, I gotta give props to Grinds His Ivories. Loved that.
Thanks.
Absolutely loved that. And I love Guffaw. Is that an onomatopoeia?
It sounds like it.
It could, because you're like, Caw.
Yeah.
I just love it because every time every time I hear it, it's like so guffawed and walked off, and you can just see it, like, what?
Yeah. The other line that you mentioned, the king grinds his ivory. Yeah, well, that actually is like his bone. Like the dog has a.
Oh, I thought he was like grinding his teeth.
Yeah, that's like what you're supposed to think.
That's great. Oh man, how fun! Well, that was a delight. What a great time.
Yeah,
the
dude.
Collaborations. I can't wait to have the collaboration come back around.
Yeah, I mean, like this is like we keep saying, all of our challenges are going to become modifiers, and so this will be a modifier. Some like collaboration, and so or maybe perspective warping, something to do with that. So yeah, like we'll definitely be seeing more collaborative things in the future. This next week is not a collaborative one. Next challenge is simple. It is to write something romantic.
Yep. We're going to write something romantic. It can be a story. It can be a poem. It can be any level of romance. It could be a date. It could be a sex scene. It could be like, this is open. This is to try to stretch you, and no judgment zone. But it could be a song, just something romantic. And there is a modifier.
What's that?
We're throwing a sideboard on this bad boy.
Meaning there's certain words you're not going to be allowed to use in your
That's
submission.
right. If you remember back from the first challenge on the first episode, we had that, but this, but that. What was it? Same but different. Yeah, same but different. Where we had a sentence that you had to rewrite, but without using a certain amount of any of the words in the sentence, and then a certain amount of other words. We're just taking the sideboard
part of that challenge
element of that. Yeah.
So
the sideboard. Let's think about this sideboard. Okay, so it's a romance story. Let's get out of the box on this. I'm gonna throw out. You can't say love. You can't say kiss.
Romance, obviously.
Can't say romance.
Yeah. So romance,
can't say
love,
hug.
kiss, hug.
Let's say beautiful. Pretty. Heart. Let's see. What are some other tropey romance things? Think Valentine's Day. Flowers.
I don't think we need to ban flowers. No, do
it's
it.
Pretty easy to
do
get
it.
around there.
Kill it.
You just gotta do whatever type of flower.
That's very true.
Or...
I would say let's leave the sidebar as that.
I kind of wanted that. So let's do two more.
Go ahead.
Give me two more. Give me one more.
No, yeah, you come.
All right. Let's see. Miss. And I'm trying to think. You're Okay, so love, kiss, romance, hug, beautiful, pretty, heart, flowers, miss, um, touch. Okay, I like that. That's a
Cool.
good sideboard.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
good.
Okay, so that's the challenge. You what you want to do? 500 word max.
Um, sure.
All right, 500 word max. Write something romantic,
Yeah,
open ended.
if you want to, like in the past, do something that isn't just word based. You can always feel free to send audio files, video files, comic book pages, whatever you want to do for the challenge. You can
Yeah,
always feel free to send that stuff to our email. Just attach it or do a Google Drive link or whatever. Yeah.
create something romantic.
hmm Do we are gonna ask if you want it to be featured in our like weekly sort of roundup of the stories online, then you'll have to submit something word based so that we can put it on there, whether that's the lyrics to
Mm-hmm.
song you wrote, a script to something that you shot. Yeah.
And if there's and as always, if there's something that you'd like to send to us, you'd like for us to see and get some feedback on, but you don't want it to be shared on the episode, that's totally fine too.
Yes.
And just tell us that, because initially we're thinking grabbing our favorites and talking about them.
And if you have something that you want feedback on that you don't mind if it's shared, come to the Right Guys Discord and
Yes.
share what you have in our workshop channel, where we have dedicated editors who are who want to help you. Not really, but there are people there. There's a community of people who are enjoying reading each other's work and giving each other tips and feedback. So it's been great
Absolutely.
to see.
Yep. Awesome. Well, this was super fun. And yeah, can't wait till next time.
Yes, sir.
And happy Valentine's Day, everybody. We love you.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's Day, right, guys? All you right guys out there. From the bar, I am Micah Kennard.
I'm Ben Worthy.
And we'll catch you next time.